Do you like dungeons?
If you kill us all in this dungeon, how are you gonna feel?
14 acid damage.
How about dragons?
Is there a dragon here, though?
There could be.
I'm Paul, the DM and producer of Make Believe Heroes, a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons adventure for all ages. If you're looking for top quality production values, including music, sound effects, with humor, heart, and occasionally a bit of horror, then go now and check out Make Believe Heroes, a proud member of the Potteration Network.
Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, the podcast where everyone's welcome at the table, but of course, as always, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
And this is Game Master Dave.
And this is episode 586, Solitaire Game Commander Dave. We'd like to thank all our Patreon backers for helping us bring you a brand new episode. Hey friends, welcome back to a brand new episode, and welcome to the table, Game Master Dave.
Hello. Thank you for the moniker. I really appreciate it.
We're so glad to have you here, Dave. We're always talking games, and we're always talking about the latest and greatest, but also games that maybe gamers out there have not had a chance to play yet or experience. And there's so many different types of games out there, and I'm so glad to have you here so you could talk about some games that maybe we have not played yet.
Yeah, so basically I'm a military historian, just by fun, I guess, and by hobby. And so I play all different kinds of games. I love every single genre of games, but if I had enough time and energy, or if I had available time and energy, I would play strategic simulation games, refighting the past warfare, historical events.
And you also have a little bit of professional experience, Dave, as well.
I do. So I am a veteran. I served 8 years in National Guard and Field Artillery, and I served 3 years regular Army, served in South Korea for most of that time in armor, in tanks. So you'll notice by the end of the episode of what games I chose.
There you go. Well, we're so glad to have you here, Dave. We're so glad to have everyone back at the table, having a great time. Tim's out this week, but we're hoping to get Tim and Dave together on an episode because we wanted to talk about, and I think this will be an upcoming episode soon, about the BGG's top 100 games of all time. There's been some shifts, there's been some changes, and there's been some conversations that myself, Dave, and Tim have been having about that top 100 list, what we've played and what we haven't played. And obviously, as those games move around, that those different dynamics shift as well. So we're going to have that in an upcoming episode, get everybody together to talk about that fun stuff. But before we get into that, let's get into stuff that we are looking to get to the table as soon as possible. Let's roll for preview. All right, Dave. So what games are you looking to hope to get to the table and drill into?
Okay, so good one, Chris. I hear you. I got you. That's a good one.
That's a lead-in.
Nice lead-in. So here's the thing. This episode, I really wanted to concentrate on solitaire games. Now, we know we'll talk a little bit later about solo mode in games,
yes,
and that so many games these days have solo modes. So I chose a game. There was a few other games that I was looking to hit the table, but one of the things that's come up, I heard it in a conversation also just briefly mentioned in an earlier BGA podcast, and also I heard about it at Gen Con and Origins or wherever it was Drillers. Now, the reason why I chose Drillers was not only does it have a solo mode, but I play a fair amount of Dwarf Fortress, so online. So if you're not familiar with that, it's a mining game. It's basically, you're drilling underground with a colony of dwarves and pulling out gems and ore, and you're trying to survive the environment. So I'm really curious. I have not played Drillers yet. It is rated at 8.0 on Board Game Geek right
Mm-hmm.
now. 1 to 4 players. So there's your solo mode. Must have some sort of solo mode. 30 minutes. Actually, I'm super surprised. Up to 2 hours, and the weight is 267. So it seems like a little bit heavy, and the components look great. And so you're exploring abandoned mines using mechs. Now, in Dwarf Fortress, you don't have any mechs. It's just your dwarves with a pickaxe or a shovel or whatever. But so I find it's got a lot of card. Looks like it's got a lot of card play. It has a little board. Did you see it at any conventions, or have you seen it, Chris?
I've seen it. It's really cool, and I like you said, Dave, about the card play. And I think also what's pretty cool about it is it's like kind of an interesting twist on that kind of like post-apocalyptic kind of world vision here. So it's not your traditional mechs, right? There's a mech that used to be a tram car that's now been turned into a driller. There's a plane that's been turned into a driller, a bus that's been turned into a driller, a boat that's been turned into a driller. So I think they have a little more personality than the kind of standard stuff. And CGE does a really good job of like bringing life to their games. So I'm really excited of getting a chance to play this as well, because it looks like a really fun game.
And I remember your episode too with the game designers or by country, right? The Olympics by country, and Czechoslovakia did okay. They didn't win.
They did quite well. Yeah,
they did quite well. The Czech Games Edition CGE. It's designed by Roman Bednar and Adam Spanal, and I won't even attempt to try to pronounce the artist names, because they're obviously from Europe, probably Czechoslovakia. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is it's using a lot of games use mechanics where you start out with base. It seems like you start out with base level drillers, and you're going to upgrade them. You're going to mine some ore or gems. You're going to sell those to upgrade your mechs and stuff. So you are trying to build up better and better drillers for getting better and better ore and gems. So I thought it was pretty interesting. It's something that I'd be curious to see.
And I think as far as this current gaming age is concerned, those deck builders alongside with a map that comes into play. So if you think of like Clank, or you think of Runes of Arnak, or you think of Dune Imperium, I think that's becoming the ultimate sweet spot, at least currently, as far as a game mechanic is concerned. I think that people like to feel like they're building up their own engine, and deck building, like you said, Dave, is kind of as far as managing what you're building for your engine. Here in this case, you're probably literally building a driller engine to kind of drill to get you more points. Right. So that's pretty cool. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And there's some upgraded components that you can get for this too. So I'm looking forward. Maybe we'll see them at PAX Unplugged, Dave.
Yeah, and if you ever decide to branch off into computer games, PC gaming, Steam games, video gaming, you let me know, because I play a wide range of PC games, to include Dwarf Fortress. So
very nice, very cool.
Great.
All right. Well, a game that I'm looking forward to hopefully get to the table at some point is a current Kickstarter that's out there. And Dave, have you ever heard of a little unknown designer called Reiner Knizia?
No, I never heard of that at all.
He's an up and coming guy. You may not have heard of him. Reiner Knizia is probably one of the most prolific game designers of all time out there, jokes aside. And he made one of my favorite games. That's Medici. Have you played Medici, Dave?
I have not.
Oh, you're missing out. So Medici is an excellent little tile auction game, and I highly recommend it to everyone. It's had multiple reprints over the years. It's very straightforward, really fun, because basically you're trying to get the highest numbers as far as the materials are concerned, but there's also a set collection mechanic to it as well. So, basically in Medici, again, classic auction game, getting materials and trying not to overbid, and again, being as strategically smart as possible. Now, there's a current Kickstarter up. This is Reiner Knizia Medici Traders
Okay.
tile auction game. So this is a new title in the Medici line of auction games. And again, Reiner Knizia knows auction games. So again, this is a different version. It's not an expansion. It's not a reprint, but it's a little like reimagining of Medici, because typically in the base game of Medici, really all you're doing is one player is taking tiles and then decides when they're going to stop, and that becomes what's up for trade that turn, and then everyone bids until someone gets it, and that keeps going until everyone's full.
Okay.
Here, it's a little different. So what you're doing here, and I mean just a little different, is everyone is going to be able to take tiles to put up for eventual auction, but all the tiles are face down, so you don't know what's available. You put them into your little like cargo hold, and then everyone does the same. So all of the possibilities are out there and available. And then starting with the first player, there you take what you want, and bidding in denominations of 5, you start with 0, and then someone could take what you wanted, and bid 5 more. And that could continue going up and around. And then basically everyone is eventually able to fill up. In this case, instead of their warehouse in the original Medici, they're going to be filling up a boat. Honestly, it's not radically different. It's just another board. Right. It's just an aesthetic nature to it.
Okay.
But here in this game, there is some tile placement unique, strategy here, because what you want to be able to do is get the highest numbers possible, because that's going to score you points. The most of a particular type is also going to score you points, just like the original Medici. Okay. But columns, how the columns line up is extremely important, because if you're able to line up the columns with the same type of material, like say glass, then you're also going to score additional points. So there is, it doesn't have the highest number, but it matches with the column. So there gives you a thing as far as that's concerned. Then there's these top tiles, which are sales and materials that don't have numbers. And again, you want to be able to line those up appropriately so that you'll be able to score the most number of points. So it's basically Medici, but there's some additional extra kind of scurry mechanisms to it. And there's also going to be rats on certain tiles, Dave. So rats are kind of a tiebreaker. That you don't want rats, obviously, on your ship. So that's something to take in consideration. There's sales that score you points. And again, there's a couple of other little things that are popping up on the current Kickstarter as they meet goals. There's pirate tiles, there's achievement tiles, and things of that nature. So this is, it's looks like to be a very good auction game, small kind of auction game with a little twist to it. Currently $34 US if you're interested in picking this up. And then they have all the other original Medici and some other games you could pick up as well. If you're interested in taking a look at this, it's currently up on Kickstarter. And of course, it's already surpassed its funding goal.
Right.
And you can check this
Reiner
out.
Knizia
Obviously,
game.
It's a Reiner Knizia game. It's going to come out to retail. You'll probably have about a couple days before this wraps up. So check it out. It ends on Tuesday, August 25th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Dave.
Oh, that's great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll check it out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that brings us up to our roll for review. Dave, we're going to let people know if these games are a buy and they should run out and pick those games up. If those games are play, they should sit down and enjoy them. If those games are dodge and they should avoid them, or in fact, the games are the dreaded burn and they should toss them off the ship. That's just what happens every once in a while.
It does. I noticed that Tim in the last episode, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, he was getting close to burning a few games.
I know. So once you start doing the podcast, you start getting a little critical, my friends, and you're like, gonna have to burn something.
Yeah. Plus, it sounds like, since his wife owns a game store, and since he's got a friend that seems to introduce him to a whole bunch of games,
yeah.
At some point, you're gonna run into a game that's, not the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last thing we ever want to do, Dave, is burn a game. But obviously, since we are informing and educating the public on games they should buy, I think it's equally important to tell them about games they should absolutely positively avoid, especially if you go to a game night, Dave. You only have a certain amount of time, and you don't want to spend it playing a bad game.
Right. Right. Yeah. My wife says that a lot. Is like, is this worth? She starts a book or she starts a video series, and she's like, is this worth the next, 10 hours of my life?
Yeah,
You know.
it's true.
Now, on a strange side note, I have had probably the game that gives me the most mixed reviews out of all the library events, the game store events that I've attended and also run. I will tell you the game that gets the most mixed reviews for me from the range of the public is Munchkin.
Oh,
It
really?
is.
Yeah.
It is. I've literally had people, if they were rating Munchkin, I've had people that would burn it in a second,
Yes.
and I have people that own the entire range of collection of all
Yes.
the different Munchkin sets, and it's their favorite go-to game ever. So
In fact, Dave, I happen to be someone who loves Munchkin.
okay.
I don't own all of Munchkin, but I own a good piece of it, just because it's nearly impossible to own Munchkin. But most of that is nostalgia, because it's one of the first games I played with a bunch of geeks that got me into more of the hardcore gaming,
Right.
and the family actually liked to play it. So it was one of those games. And again, I love the humor and John Kovalek's artwork, especially from Dork Tower. I don't know if you ever read the webcomic Dork
Yes,
Tower.
I have. Yeah.
His games too, as well. So anything John Kovalek, anything with that kind of humor in the D&D universe. Again, the challenge tends to be, like you said, Dave, is it's hot and cold for a lot of people, just because the original base game of Munchkin can run almost indefinitely, or until
Yep.
people run out of cards. So if they have not played it, the solution to that is Munchkin Apocalypse, because that game has a win condition that is not based on whoever hits level 10 first.
Okay.
So there's just a piece of note for those people out there.
I like the Munchkin Cthulhu rule set, which is if at some point you might turn into a cultist, and if everybody turns into a cultist, then Cthulhu wins.
Yes, there you go.
It's so funny stuff. But I have seen a game. A game was played in my game store with about 8 players, and
Wow.
I think it lasted 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's just, you can't do that. You just can't. It's just because, again, at the end of the game, it's like you have a bunch of cards to sabotage somebody else. They have a bunch of cards to sabotage you. There's some strategy as far as like, when do you want to go for that last hit? But
Right.
yeah, it certainly can ruin a good time, and I agree. And then that's a lot of players for a Munchkin game.
Yeah, it's a lot of players. Yeah, they had
Yeah.
a good time. They still had fun. They said, So
Good.
actually, if we're going to talk about, so one of the things about Munchkin that I have personally have a complaint. I don't mind playing. I don't pick it up. It's not my go-to game whatsoever.
Sure.
But at the library events, I get a lot of people that request it because they're like, I've heard about this Munchkin game, and I'm like, oh, well, we're gonna play the base set. Have you heard about? Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? No. Okay, well then you're not gonna get the 95 jokes that are in this game.
Yes.
So, but anyway, my personal complaint about the game is that it has player elimination.
Yes.
Yeah. So oh, wait, no, it doesn't. I thought it did. There was another. Must be another game.
Well,
you get knocked down to like level 1 because you draw 2 new cards, right?
you get knocked down. Depending on the version that
killed,
you play, you could the getting knocked out is either minor or tremendous.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you could get knocked out of the game, not eliminated from the game, I guess is the way to say it.
Right.
Because you're still in the game, but now you are in a really bad spot where you have no gear or anything like that. So
Right.
yeah.
So then talking about review,
Yeah.
I will give you a little heads up. None of these games I will recommend to be burnt.
They survived, Dave.
They survive.
Spoilers.
They survive. Now I will tell you I'll give you my run through of them.
Sure.
Real quick, because these are games that so I do a lot of library events, so and conventions, and so I get a myriad of all different kinds of people that want to play, and also of different skill sets, and also of different interest levels in board gaming. Basically Ginger and I have this technique where we say, hey, thank you for stopping by. How are you? You enjoying your convention? Thank you for coming to the library, whatever. We do our little mini introduction. And then we say, is there one of these games that that you see on the shelf that we have available that you are interested in? And most of the time, people say, "No, I don't know any of these games," and we say, "Okay, sit down and play this." We just put them at a table. So one of our go-to games, which does have player elimination, that's I guess I was thinking about. There is a drawback,
Sure.
I believe, to player elimination. But it has been ridiculously popular among people because it's so easy to learn how to play. Is Lumberjacks with rocket launchers? Have you gotten a chance to play this, Chris?
I have not, Dave. That seems made up. Just be honest with you.
Yeah. So the theme of the game. This is how we started. Okay. Thanks for my name's Game Master Dave. Thanks for learning Lumberjacks with rocket launchers. All right. So the theme of the game is you're a lumberjack and you're cutting down your section of woods and you're having a grand old day. And then wait a minute. What are you doing here? This is my section of woods. You're not supposed to. Oh, I see. You're not going to leave. All right. Time to break out the rocket launchers, right?
Oh my god, that's funny.
So that is the theme. So it's a fast, easy, and quick game. And even though it does have player elimination, I noticed in games, even when I play with 6 or 8 people, that pretty much everybody still sticks around to see what happens. So Ginger and I were just at the Long Island Doctor Who convention, and we had a little game room there. And these 3 games I'm about to talk about were huge hits. And it's not just there, but it is at other conventions and library events. People come back for these games. And so this is one of them. So with Lumberjacks with rocket launchers, basically you have a 3-card hand. I forgot. It is rated only 6.3 on Board Game Geek. Ginger and I, we like to say in our own world that anything over 6.5 is essentially a good game. So by our classification of rating, this would not be the greatest of games.
Yes.
At the weight level is only 1.
Wow. Okay.
So it is super easy. But I have not had anybody that I've taught this game to seem to have a bad time.
Sure.
So you have 3 cards, and you essentially play a card and draw a card. And essentially you start, the most common card is rockets. So you launch a rocket at the player to the left or the player to the right. And then you have other cards which are defensive cards. So you have a hide and seek card, which means that if you've got a rocket or 2 facing you, you can play a hide and seek card, and the rockets will miss you and go to the next player. They will follow through. So they will fly by you and go to the next player. And the artwork on this is ridiculously silly. So you have this like giant person hiding behind this thin like 1-inch wide pine tree, for the hide and seek card. So it's silly. There's also a turnaround card where if you basically take out your axe you're chopping down trees with, and you whack the front of the rocket and you turn it around and face it back at the person that just shot it at you. But the main game comes down to this card called Rocket Time. And with anybody around the table can play the Rocket Time card. And anybody that has 3 rockets facing them at that current time, they explode and are eliminated. Unless they have the Dodge card. If you play the Dodge card, then you don't blow up, and all those cards follow through to the other players that are adjacent. Anyway, the game always ends up where one person's got 0 rockets, another person's got, 3 rockets, and one person's got like 19 rockets facing them, right? And so then somebody plays the Rocket Time card, and the person with 19 rockets facing them, has the Dodge in their hand. So then all those rockets go to somebody else. It's just hilarious. So what I would put on this is I would say this is definitely a play. Unless you're a demonstrator at convention or libraries, then this is an absolute buy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It literally takes about 2 minutes to teach how to play this game. So the next game I wanted to talk about was Hot Streak. Have you gotten a chance to play this one, Chris?
Weirdly enough, no. This has dodged me a couple of times, but this is what the mascots, right? Yes.
Yeah. So this is the designer is John Perry. The artist is Cecily Gariepi. I'm not too sure if I pronounced that correctly. Published by CMYK. And it is rated 7.8 on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, people like it.
this game is completely unserious whatsoever, right? So you have four mascots that you have, and so this is, the intro to this game, as I usually say, you're at some sort of sporting event, and it's time for the mascot race. Do you go to Yankee games, or are you a Mets fan, Chris?
No, I've been to Yankee games.
Okay. So do you remember
Yeah.
the subway races they do always, like in between
yeah.
one of the innings and stuff like that?
hmm
So this is nothing different than that. Or you do. I recently have gone to the Brooklyn Cyclones games because one of my
yeah.
friends has season tickets, and they bring out the hot dog and mustard, and they go running down. They have a race
That's
for
funny.
hot dog and mustard and stuff. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I was
so
when I used to live in Pittsburgh, they also used to have pierogi races too with the
okay,
Pittsburgh
right.
Pirates. Yeah.
All right, right. So this is a game about that, essentially. It's completely unserious. You have Mum, you have Gobbler, you have Hurley, which is the best name ever for a hot dog character in any game or movie I've ever seen, Hurley. And you have Dangler, which is a large fish. And essentially, it's card-driven game to see how they move. There's whether they move on the card forward or they turn around or fall down or anything like that. And this game takes a little bit longer to play. It's that Lumberjacks with rocket launchers. I've seen games go 7 or 8 minutes, maybe up to 20 minutes. This game, although listed on Board Game Geek as 20 minutes, there is actually a little bit of setup, and in between races, there's a little bit of cleanup and resetting up. So I don't know if that's exactly accurate. Gameplay is about 20 minutes probably, but with the resetting up of the races, you do 3 races. It probably takes 30 to 40 minutes to play. But I had at Doctor Who convention and other conventions and libraries events that I do, as soon as somebody plays this game, first of all, it's very visual. So you've got the plastic figures of the mascots on the board. The package design is a 10.5, Chris. It's above 10.
Yeah.
So because the field that they race on actually rolls out from the game box, and then you use this little dial on the side of the game box to pull the racing field back in. It's amazing. So basically, you start betting. You have these betting chits that you grab on who you think is going to come in first, second, or third, and then the race starts, and you have a way. So there's a certain number of cards that are played in each game, and you don't use all the cards in the deck. And then you give cards to each player. They have an opportunity to influence their bets, their betting, or their choices of who they think is going to win by supplying a card to the deck. And then somebody flips over the cards, and madness ensues. That's it. That's all I can say about Hot Streak. And then you play a second game and a third game. And then, Chris, very interestingly enough, sure, the person with the most money at the end of the game wins, okay, but they don't really emphasize that. They literally have in the back of the book a range of $1 to $100, depending on, and then you read what's in the back of the book, depending on what you end with. So if you end up with $45, you read what your life condition is after you have finished betting on these mascot races. Yeah. And it is ridiculous stuff. It's like, with your $45, you buy a boomerang, and one day you'll figure out how to actually use it.
That's funny.
So it's very light and fun.
Yeah.
And I did not realize that it's rated 7.8 on Board Game Geek. That is fantastic.
Yeah, people, I think the toy factor certainly has brought a lot of people along with that. And I think it was missing from just what games were doing for quite some time. I think Magical Athlete recently came back into print around the same amount of time. And that has the same kind of vibe as far as this is concerned.
Okay.
And there was another game we used to play too called Cheaty. I think it was called Cheaty Mages, which is another betting on magical creatures to win a race. It was all card driven, but I think you nailed it, Dave. I think there's something just absolutely adorable about this.
So the other things I'm noticing on Board Game Geek right here is that they have listed the age group for this as 6+. So that's amazing. And then also overall rank is 306 in the party category, number 4.
Oh, wow.
So that's amazing. So my suggestion to you, again, strangely enough, is you must play this.
Oh, no.
You have to experience it, Chris.
Okay.
Okay, this is your number one priority. Starting after we finish this podcast.
Okay, I have to find somebody who has a copy of this. We need to play this.
Okay, well I got
if
one.
If you're listening out there and you have a copy of this, please send me an email. Chris at boardgamersanonymous.com, and I will come to you and we will play this, and Dave will be satisfied.
And strangely enough, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but if you demo games on a regular basis at library settings or conventions, you must buy this.
Oh,
so.
Dave dropping some cash here.
Yeah, so I'm so happy my wife picked this up for us. I had no idea when it came into the house. I was like, "What the heck is this?"
That's so funny.
Yeah. All right, so the third game that I would like to review we play at conventions and libraries is Flip 7. Now I have to give a shout out to my friend Brian because this guy. So I have some quote unquote minions that follow me around to my library events. So we have this laughter. Hey, how you doing, minion? And they help me sometimes set up or clean up or something like that. And I tell them, no. I actually get paid for this. You don't have to do a darn thing. And then they say, Dave, you give me I have so much fun at your events. I want to help out. So sometimes they help us clean up.
Aww.
Anyway, this guy Brian has been coming to my events now for several years, and he is so helpful to the point that he got one of his friends who does leather working to make a satchel to carry our giant corridor board. And then the second thing is he keeps buying me games. He goes to Gen Con and comes home with a huge haul and then just hands me games. And I'm like, Brian, you don't have to buy me games. He's like, Dave, you need this for the library. You need this. And so this is one of them was Flip 7.
Sure.
So, but you said, I asked you earlier, you said you have played this.
I've played this a lot. And I think Chris and I had reviewed this game quite some time ago because Chris was getting a lot of playtime with this game, and I had played it a lot on Board Game Arena, and it felt to me, Dave, just like a game experience because it's a press your luck game, which I really do like. No Thanks is one of my favorite games, and that's somewhat of certainly a press your luck game. And Flip 7 was like you hit 20 and then you decide if you want to take another card, give or take.
Yep.
And I honestly didn't really love it, Dave. And then I bought a copy for Christmas. They had a Grinch version of it. And I was like, maybe the family will like this. It's very straightforward. And we played, and I played with my whole family, including my niece, who I think was 7 at the time. And she, obviously she was able to get it, right? Because again, it's a very simple thing. Don't bust. Don't get 2 of the same card. They didn't love it. I was surprised they didn't love it because it seemed like it would be an easy game. But I've warmed to it. I can't say, Dave, that I'm at a point where I love the game, but certainly I've warmed to it. I think it's a good game. It's like it's fine. It's a good game. So what was your experience like with Dave?
Well, again, since I seem to be on this little kick here talking about my experience, at least at the Doctor Who convention most recently, this game came out. So Brian gave me a copy of this. I learned how to play. He runs it, so he'll attend my library events, and then he'll grab 4, 5, 6, 7 people and teach them all Flip 7. And so here's like 5 or 6 people at my library event that I don't have to teach a game to. So again, he helps me out a lot doing this kind of
Wonderful
stuff. And again, it's a party game. It's rated number 41 on party games on Board Game Geek. So it's 7.2 rating. It is made by the designer is Eric Olson. The artist is O'Neill Mabille, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the publisher is the Op Games. And of course, Chris, I agree with you. All 3 of these games are not games that I've talked about. Are not my go-to games. I don't go to these to enjoy a game myself. Yes. But I do have a few friends that are into light gaming. They don't like they like to play the party games. They like to play the cooperative games. They like to play just ridiculously silly games. So these are the games that are their go-to games. So if you like lighter games, then these 3 Lumberjacks, Hot Streak, and now Flip 7 is the way to go. Now you already described it a little bit. It's only rated 1.04 on Board Game Geek. So it's again very light. It is a push your luck game. This
Mm-hmm.
game has completely replaced zombie dice at my library.
Oh, really?
So which is also a push your luck game. And
It is.
Ginger and I have struggled with. We love zombie dice for teaching new people how to play because it's so easy.
Sure.
But we have complications. Sometimes we have like 4 9-year-olds that want to play this game, and we have to talk about shotgun blasts and eating brains. It's just like, okay. Well, Flip 7, you don't have to do that. It's all about numbers. So it is a press your luck game. Everybody gets dealt a card. There's action cards in there where you have to do something when you get dealt that card. Sort of, also I had a few people mention to me over the last 6 months or so that it reminds them of Uno. I don't know
Sure.
why, I guess,
agree.
except that they have an action card that they can play on somebody else.
Yes.
Sort of like the draw 4 card or draw 2 card in Uno, or a skip or reverse. But in Flip 7, some of the cards are actually bonus cards, so it'll be like add +8 to your score. While other ones you have to play it on somebody else, which will freeze their current score of what they have. And then the other push your luck mechanic, which I think is great, is if you have 6 numbered cards in front of you and none of them match, so you haven't busted out that round yet, you sort of want to get a 7th one, but the chances of getting a similar card is increased. But if you get that 7th one, you get a bonus +15 points the next time you stay. So a lot of people go for that 7th card, and then they get a card that's the same number that they have, and they bust out, and that's when everybody starts laughing and having a good time. How the game mechanic works is that there's one number 1 card in the deck, 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, all the way up to 12. So 12 cards. So if you've got a 10, 11, and 12 sitting in front of you, you may not want to get another card. You may not want to press your luck. So, and then you play multiple rounds up to 200. Now, one of my interesting experiences is that I just had for work. We just had a conference out in LA, and the flight back was delayed 3 hours. So here I am with like 10 of my work associates, and we're sitting in the airport. We got 3 hours to kill. And of course, me as Game Master Dave, I've got 8 or 9 games in my luggage. So I break out Flip 7. We flip over a couple pieces of luggage, and I teach 5 of those 10 people how to play Flip 7. And they've never played any games like this before. They had a blast.
That's wonderful.
Really good time. And then the jokes about, so one of the guys was a manager. He was a manager at the other 4 people, including myself, were just workers, and one was a manager. And somebody had a card, an attack card from the Flip 7, and the manager was winning the game, and everybody was like, "Joel, put it on Charlie. Put that card on Charlie. He's winning. He's winning. He's winning." and Joel goes, "But he's my manager."
Aww.
So it was fun. Good times. So again, I would rate this as a super play. And if you run library or convention events, it's a super buy, Chris. Super buy.
Yeah, and there's been a number. This game has exploded in the big box stores, and they've had a couple of different versions of it. I think one's a little bit meaner with more attack cards.
Flip 7 with a vengeance. Flip 7 with a vengeance.
Yeah. So this is going to get the love letter treatment, where it's just going to get a number of different variations as time goes on. Yeah.
Great. All right. What do you have for a review, Chris?
Well, Dave, have you played King of Tokyo?
I have lots of times, and that's another big library event, also with player elimination, though. Yeah.
Yes, and one of the reasons why, as you know, Dave, it makes it such a great library game or convention game is basically the game comes down to 2 simple mechanics. One is obviously King of the Hill, right? And you mentioned the elimination mechanic to it. So if you're the last one standing, you win. Or, of course, if you get 20 fame points or 20 points in the game, you also win. The second is just a very simple Yahtzee mechanic.
Right.
You roll the dice, you hold what you like, you roll the other dice again, and then again if you'd like, and then you take whatever comes from that. So that happens to be one of the kind of most approachable games that I've played a lot along the way.
Okay.
And it's something that the family and the friends really like it. And there was a time, Dave, just like Munchkin, where I started collecting all of the things. So like Munchkin was a time until I was like, all right, Steve Jackson, you've beaten me. There's way too much. I can't collect all of this. And then King of Tokyo used to come out with like new monsters.
Okay.
And I used to collect those, Dave. And then they were like, I think you had to win one. You had to win a couple of conventions, and then you had to pay 5 or 10, and then it became 20 and 25. I was like, all right, Richard Garfield, I love you. I adore you, but I am out. I can't do this anymore. And then I could think they got smart about it, and they were like, let's just come out with different versions. So they had a King of Tokyo, like dark black kind of version to it. And then they had all different versions, all different expansions. I used to have a bunch of those. Now it's King of Tokyo Godzilla, which obviously was the inspiration of King of Tokyo, because the monsters are pretty much Godzilla-esque monsters, legally distinct, so that they won't get sued.
Right.
But finally, King of Tokyo from Richard Garfield and from Yellow Games, they've come out with the IP Godzilla version of King of Tokyo. So this is going to be a difficult explanation, Dave, so let me just give it to you here. Yeah. It's King of Tokyo.
Okay.
So, again, if you've not played it, we've just explained it. Again, King of the Hill, Yahtzee mechanic, you have a monster, you are trying to knock out or score enough points. There are special ability cards that come into play. What's really great about this is the artwork is all, obviously, the Godzilla artwork. The cards are a wide range of more cartoony to more serious artwork. The artwork, as far as the broad box and monsters and things of that nature, are all kind of serious monster kind of pictures in here.
Right.
But certainly you can play with kids. There's no blood or gore whatsoever. That's the greatness of Godzilla. Like, whatever destruction he does, it's all PG rated, more or less.
Right.
So, in addition to that, there are event cards. Now, this is a typical expansion version, Dave, that comes out for a lot of games where they're like, hey, let's make an expansion. Well, what can we add? Global events. So basically, these event cards come into play, and they affect everyone based on a certain thing. Usually it's a negative. And then if someone pays the energy, they'll get the bonus. And the bonus could be a bonus to them or a bad effect to everybody else.
Okay.
On top of which, it also adds an expansion that King of Tokyo had previously. I think it's his first expansion, at least major expansion, which was Evolutions. And these evolutions give your monsters special abilities. And again, the original game was great because you had those that were kind of fitting those monsters. These obviously are more, I guess, lore, IP specific. So you do have all the original monsters here from Godzilla, and they also have all their special abilities that go along with it. So
they have Mothra?
They have Mothra. They have Rodan. They have all the classic monsters here. I mean, they have 6 of them. And again, I'm sure they'll have expansions for, obviously this game will do well. So the artwork's great. The dice are wood, which is a little different from the plastic dice, which is good. They have a good feel to them. Obviously, they're not going to last as long as the plastic dice, but I don't think that's a big problem here. Maybe a problem if you're playing at a library. Eventually, they get knocked around a little bit. But this is certainly a great version. And I would argue probably the best version of King of Tokyo, because I think it's going to be the one that people are going to most identify with, instead of like, oh, what are those general monsters? Like, no, it's Godzilla. Oh, okay, I understand Godzilla, destruction, monsters, Mothra. Even if you're not a Godzilla fan and you bring this to the table with other people, they're going to understand the general gist of it just by the IP alone. So this gets a buy, because King of Tokyo gets a buy. And this is even better than King of Tokyo because of the IP recognition and because it combines the best of the previous expansions.
Well, that's great. You know, one of the things that I own and I have yet to play is King of Tokyo New York. Or King of New York, I'm sorry.
King of New York. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about adding like a board game element to Drillers, like it's a card-driven game, but adding a board game. And so I understand that King of New York did that as well.
Yeah, King of New York was a little different because you also destroyed buildings and tanks and planes,
Okay.
and those had effects, or if they stuck around in your area, those had negative effects. So it added a little more, an extra dimension to the game. I like that a lot. Some people don't, because it kind of can slow down the game and complicate it a little bit more. But
Right, okay.
it's a good variation of the game. Again, your mileage may vary as far as is it better or not better, but it's also a very good version.
Right. One of the things that I've always been a fan of for King of Tokyo, I'm not a fan of player elimination,
Yeah.
but I have King of Tokyo is a very colorful box, and of course you got the standees and the
Mhm.
dice, so it's very attractive to like 7, 8, 9 year olds.
Yeah.
And so what I've done at library events is I teach the game, but those cards or those elements that you mentioned, I leave the upgrade cards out.
Yes.
So that way, now unfortunately when they roll energy, it doesn't do anything, and I have to sort of explain that away. That does nothing. Roll again. But younger people can grasp the concept of this game quite easily. Now the upgrade
Yes.
cards just add an extra complexity to it.
Yes. I 100% agree, Dave. And like you said, it's a fairly fast game. So I don't think that the player elimination here, and we mean like elimination, like they're out of the game, not just knocked down and in a bad spot.
Right.
It's not too bad because it's very fun, and it's, like sometimes it's inadvertent. Like when you attack from Tokyo, you hit everybody. And the game is fairly quick. So you could finish a game of, King of Tokyo in 30 to 45 minutes. Or even quicker, again, depending on how the cards come out and how players play. But generally, you don't even have to attack other people; just get points, and then you can win that way too.
I've had people very excited about the game because it's, like you said, it's push your luck too. Even though it's Yahtzee, it's also push your luck because if you've taken some wounds and you're in Tokyo, you can't heal. You can't heal if you're in Tokyo. So then you might want to leave, or do you push your luck and
you're
last
getting
another
points.
round and get more points.
Yeah, you're getting points for staying in Tokyo.
Right, but now I see what you're saying about this Godzilla version. If fans of monster movies might have been disappointed by the King of Tokyo game because there was no IP associated with it.
And I think just general recognition why you pull something off the shelf, or you engage with something, or you come over to a table is. Then the reason why IPs are expensive to incorporate into board games or any kind of game is because of the name recognition.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, because the game was already built upon the Godzilla lore, I think that one of the things that you and I like a lot about games, Dave, is when they're thematic. So if someone says to you Godzilla, you're going to think giant monsters smashing buildings and hitting each other in a very kind of somewhat cartoony way. Right. Like, so you don't have to overly explain the game. They're going to get it, and they're going to be able to play it with that kind of understanding that does not have to be like readily taught to them. Like, this is what the monster does. Like, no, I've seen Godzilla, even if it was on a commercial. I know exactly what this game is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And talking about IPs, at the Doctor Who convention, Ginger and I brought several Doctor Who IP games, and they were asked for, and we played them. Probably the most popular one was Doctor Who Flux.
I have a couple of Doctor Who games from way back in the day, and I'll be honest with you, Dave, like, there's one that's really a little bit overly complicated for a Doctor Who game, well, which is kind of weird to say because Doctor Who is quite complicated.
Yeah.
I have not found a Doctor Who game that I felt like really embodied Doctor Who.
Okay, right.
Flux is good because Flux is good because it gives you that kind of inside joke, inside feel. It got all the characters and pictures, but still Flux, which is, it does fit very well for a Doctor Who universe. I will say that because the rules keep changing.
Yeah. Now there is a Doctor Who game that we played, and we played, and if Ginger was on this podcast, we tried to get my wife Ginger on the podcast.
Sure.
She would rate this Doctor Who card game. I'm sorry to say it for those Doctor Who fans. We're not Whovians, Ginger and I, but she would rate it dodge or burn.
Oh wow, okay.
And the rule book was horrible. Couldn't figure out.
Yeah, I don't know why this. I'm really kind of surprised considering how popular Doctor Who is that it hasn't had more of a IP universe like Star Trek or Star Wars. it's had some games. I played most if not all of them, and they're not the best. But again, some point somewhere, someone will pick it up. I hope.
Yeah. All right.
All right, everyone. So that's all the games that we played this week. Now on to our feature review. Our feature review this week is, of course, Solitaire Games with the one and only Game Commander Dave for this episode. So, Dave, Solitaire Games. This is a little bit different of a dynamic than what most people think of as like, oh, you could just play this game with one player.
Right. Well, this is one of the things is I think everybody would agree that in the last 10 years or so, there has been a push for churning out in our modern tabletop industry kind of style two-player games. Now, there's always been two-player games around for the longest time. I mean, chess and Go and checkers are two-player games, right? So, but I got a lot of people coming into my store when I owned a retail store of saying, well, I need to find a game that's good for couples night. I need to find a game for, it's just me and my friend in a gaming group. And, we love Ticket to Ride, but, Ticket to Ride 2-player is Ticket to Ride 2-player, right? And so obviously we have a huge industry push for two-player games. So we got Seven Wonders Duel, Splendor Duel, Lord of the Rings Duel. These are games that are now in my top 25 favorite games of all time, for me personally. And solitaire games have also been around for a surprisingly long time. I mean, Solitaire the card game was designed in 1697. I mean, so, that's been around for quite some time. And then, of course, solitaire games on apps on your phone. I mean, everybody plays those, right? Candy Crush Saga and the myriad of tower defense games that are out right now just keep upgrading, just keep destroying stuff. And then, of course, the industry also, I think, was getting some pressure, in my opinion, that people wanted to experience these multiplayer games and learn the game mechanics, but they also wanted to play on their own in order to do that. So what do? How do you play Dominion, solo? Do you walk around the table and pick up the next deck and play that hand, and then walk around the table and pick up the other deck and play that hand? Can you play Dominion solo? I guess you can, but it's not designed to play solo. So, as you know, Chris, we talked about it before the episode, was that the industry has created a whole raft of games that you could also play in solo mode. Sometimes they have to add cards, or you have to play against the game system. Like one of the games that is popular at my library events right now is A Place for All Your Books. And so they had to add another player using their cards. Or Agricola has other cards that you use when you play it in solo mode. So all of these games. And then, Chris, we were talking about it, that there's a lot of solo game mode games out there. I'm trying to find my list, what was the one, the Gloomhaven? Was that that was a solitaire game. That wasn't a solo mode, right? So there's lots of games that you can play solo mode. So we all know.
Final Girl, Friday, Under Falling Skies, Mr. President, the American Presidency, 2001 to 2020. That's a super huge game. I think Anthony had picked it up. It took up the whole table. Hostage Negotiator is probably the classic one. And then the ones that I recently played, which I liked, was Resist and Witchcraft. They're both same game basically, but different IPs, or I guess genres. And then a small one for Northwood, a solo trick-taking game, was also pretty fun. You could play that on Board Game Arena.
Oh, I didn't realize that was on Board Game Arena.
Yep.
So
Gentle Rain. Yeah.
Yeah, so a change. So there's been a change also. So you can play all these games solo mode, the big game solo mode. But then what Chris was talking about is now the industry understands that there's a need and a desire for solitaire games that are designed only for single player. And so I went now. Friday actually is owned by my local library here on Long Island. They have it, and I've taught people at the library how to play it and play this solitaire game. So, people need games now to play. Now, you mentioned you mentioned Anthony had a podcast
Yeah.
about solo mode games or solitaire games, right? And that
Yes.
so he obviously had a need to check out games on his own, play some games, have some entertainment, but then he developed a whole podcast around this. And I'm sure that
Yes.
there's other podcasts and other
Hmm.
YouTube channels that are all about, as a matter of fact, I know there's YouTube channels about solitaire gaming, because what I wanted to talk about today was so the reason why reason why my moniker has changed in this episode to
Yes.
Game Commander Dave is
Yes.
because I mentioned earlier that if I had an opportunity, unlimited time and money, I would play almost strictly strategic simulation game,
Hmm.
war gaming. And I have a friend that I've been playing on VassalEngine.org, two-player war games now for years and years and years.
Hmm.
And recently he got into a kick on playing solitaire war games. And I found through this that there was an amazing abundance of solitaire war games. And what is this? What kind of niche does this fill? Like, what kind of need does this fill? Well, we already talked about that sometimes it's hard to find a gaming group, and
Yes.
sometimes the gaming group is two people, right? You and your friend, or you and your spouse. Um, so two games are necessary, but a lot of people live in all different kinds of the world and country and can only connect online, and so there is a large desire for solitaire games. Now, so that's a niche within a niche in a way, solitaire games in the regular tabletop industry. Well, now you have war gamers. War gamers is a niche within a niche within a niche,
Yes.
and not a lot of people play war games. And so, although I do teach some to my friends, I've taught them Squad Leader and a few other things, trying to teach them. And I also play Hearts of Iron 4 online as well, which is a simulation of World War II in a game. And you can play that solitaire mode, but you're just playing against the AI of all the other nations. And so my friend got on this kick of picking out solitaire games. So he's been playing a bunch of solitaire games himself, and so he introduced me to three. He introduced me to two, and then there's a solitaire war game that I've been playing off and on. I've taught it at conventions occasionally, which is a lot of fun. And so we'll talk about those. So this is my featured story about solitaire war games. And I know that many of you out there probably don't play war games alone, but I will tell you there is a huge amount of history you can learn from playing war games, let alone solitaire war games, where you have to make all the decisions yourself, all the command decisions yourself about what to do about certain situations. And you start to see that the commanders at the time, with the technology they had available, with the resources they had available, had to make some very, very tough decisions. And that's what comes out in the agency in these games. What do I do? Do I press my luck and keep continuing towards the objective, or do I fall back and refit and refurbish? So anyway, here's three games that I have recently played, a quick overview of some of them. The first one is The Hunters. It's German U-boats at war, 1939 to 1943. And it's you can play it two-player, but it doesn't really work two-player. So it is really a solitaire game. And the weight of these games is a little bit more. The designer is Gregory M. Smith. The artist is John Krantz, Roger B. McGowan, and Ian Wedge. And it comes out by Consim Press or GMT and GMT Games. So basically, you command a singular German U-boat in World War II, and your mission is to sink as much Allied shipping as possible. So you start out with in 1939 doing a mission, and you try to go from mission to mission to mission to rack up as many tonnage sinking as possible. But then, of course, you have to fend off the Allied destroyers, and they create flooding or hull damage on your ship. And here's the thing about resource management: you have this track that it takes time. You have to travel from your base in France. You have to go into the English Channel. You have to head out to the Atlantic Ocean, and you have this track that you have to follow all the entire time while the allies are trying to sink you, and so it ends up, and so you get damage as you go around, and so now do you abandon the mission and head back home for repairs, or do you go one more space out into the Atlantic Ocean to maybe get that really super large tanker without destroyer escort and sink it? And so it's some interesting decision making, and then eventually after if you survive a mission and survive your second, third, fourth mission, then eventually your commanders get experience, your crew gets experience. You can upgrade to a 1941 U-boat instead. So there's some interesting game mechanics in there. The next solitaire game I wanted to talk about was Agricola. What? What do you mean Agricola?
Not
ahead.
that one, huh?
Not that one. No, this one's a little bit different. So, as many of you probably don't know, there was a Roman commander called Agricola, who was and so the game is actually called Agricola, Master of Britain, and it is basically there's a map of England, and you have to quell those really pesky British into accepting Roman rule. And how do you do that? Of course, just like with true history, is you go around and you pounce on them. So there is an aggressive element to this game. But one of the game mechanics is, so you have different boards. So you have the overall strategic board, and then you have like a little tactical board where you fight with your troops, your legions, against the hordes of the British forces there, the British natives, or whatever you want to call them. And so you have to, so there's you have to do some linear fighting, linear battle tactics. And but there's 3 cups that are used in this game, which I think is a very, very unique mechanic. You have a friendly cup, which you will pull chits out of, which will be your auxiliary. They'll fight on the side of the Romans. And then you have your unfriendly cup, where these are some British tribes that are teeter-tottering. They don't know if they want the money and the goods that come from Rome, but they really don't want to lose their farms and their livelihood. So they're in the unfriendly cup. And then you have the hostile cup. You have those British citizens that are defending their homeland, are saying Romans go home, which is another cardboard game. And so they need the Romans to leave, and so they have the hostile cup. Now, depending on what Agricola and the Roman legions do, this is an interesting game mechanic. I really haven't experienced that much, but it is a little bit common in some war games, is you have a whole bunch of British tribes in each cup, and also British leaders. So what happens is when a battle happens, you pull from the cup depending on where you are. You pull some auxiliary out of the friendly cup, you pull some hostile forces out of the hostile cup. But also, as the legions go around Britain, they do actions. And so whatever, depending on what the legion action is, a few of those chits might move from unfriendly cup to friendly, or they might move from unfriendly cup to hostile, or they might move from hostile cup to unfriendly. So each chit represents a tribe or a portion of a tribe, and they have different skill sets and different combat values. And so you will lose the game multiple ways. One is if all of the British chits end up in the hostile cup, right? And another way to lose the game is if you ever lose a battle. If the Romans, while they go around pouncing around and trying to become masters of Britain, as they go pouncing around, if they ever lose a battle, they lose the game. They're done. So it's interesting to see a little bit of the history behind this, and so I thought this was a very, very interesting game. And the last game I'll cover is the one that I played way back in high school. I'm a big World War II historian. I know a lot about that, as well as the American Civil War, as well as Napoleonics. And my second favorite game of all time is Napoleon by Columbia Games, just so you know. And can be played 3-player. But this game, the solitaire game, is B-17 Queen of the Skies. So in this game, similar like the Hunters, you have a B-17, you name all your crew, and you're trying to get to 25 missions, survive at 25 missions, because that's what the Memphis Belle, if you ever saw the movie, the Memphis Belle did 25 missions in the 8th U.S. Air Force over England, and then they went around the country to promote the war, to selling of war bonds, and to promote their accomplishment of surviving 25 missions. Well, I've never had a plane survive 25 missions. So I think the most I got up to was about 20 or 21. I can't remember.
Wow. Okay.
But I've had a lot of planes go down on their first or second or third mission. So, the amount of Allied casualties with bombing raids over Germany were insane during World War II. So that is fairly represented in the game. Now, some of the agency in the game that you have is German waves of fighters will come flying at you, and you have to choose which machine guns on the B-17 do you allocate to which fighters. And then there's some luck die rolling, and then you have to make other decisions, such as if you lose an engine, or if one of the crewmen are killed, is that position inside the plane important to keep a crewman at? If so, you need to move somebody else there. So who do you move there? If your plane gets too damaged before you've gotten to the target, do you fall out of formation? Do you turn back around to England? Do you drop your bombs not on the target, but just to get them out of the ship, to get them out of the plane so you don't get blown up while you're getting attacked? Then you'll have wounded crew members, you'll have KIA members, and so you have to replace those crew members. So it's quite an interesting game, and you really learn how difficult how dangerous bombing was over Germany and German positions in World War II. So I have thoroughly enjoyed these games, Chris. I even see my board game reading for B-17 Queen of the Skies, my own personal rating, is rated 9. I put on in my collection. Okay. And that's also rated 7.1 on Board Game Geek. I did not mention who designed Agricola. That is by designers Amabel Holland, artist Gonzalo Santa Cruz, Arena B. Zalkowski, and the publisher is Hollandspiel. So that was I guess that's probably a Dutch game that would have been in the Olympics if we had a war game. Yeah. And that Agricola is rated at 7.1, and so is B-17, and the Hunters is 7.7 actually. And the B-17 game designers Glenn Frank, Bruce Shelley, artists is Joe DeMarco, Dale Schaefer, and it's put out by On Target Games. So
wonderful.
Yeah, so there's my little featured review of some. I don't know, Chris, if I can open this up, if you're interested in learning more about war games and especially solitaire strategic simulation gaming, I guess you can email Chris at Chris at what?
BoardGamersAnonymous.com.
BoardGamersAnonymous.com. And
where can they also find you, Dave? You're out there in the world.
Yeah, so you can find me at Dave at GameMasterGames.com. That's GAMES, Dave at GameMasterGames.com. If you, I know war games aren't normally talked about on this podcast, but I'm a huge enthusiast, and I play daily almost. So if you have a war game interest, hit me up, Dave at GameMasterGames.com. If you live on Long Island or are familiar with VassalEngine.org, definitely send me a note.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dave, for everything. That's definitely a new area that we haven't explored, and now we did.
Yeah, we did.
Thanks to Game Master Dave, who is for this episode at least, Solitaire Game Commander Dave.
Solitaire Game Commander. There you go. I got
We're going to collect all the action figures of you, Dave, at some point.
Well, interesting that you mentioned that, but I would like to do a shout out to Kaiju KO, a game that did a Kickstarter, and I am actually in the credits.
Very cool.
And the artwork in the game of the person teaching you the game in the rule books is me. I'm a little robot in there. They got my glasses and everything like that. These guys here on Long Island, these game designers, there's a whole game design group on Long Island that is just absolutely incredible. So Kaiju KO. So it's a game about kaiju robots running around destroying each other.
Okay. All right, everyone. So until next time, this is Chris.
This is Dave. I'm sorry. This is Solitaire Game
Commander Dave.
Game Commander Dave. Yes. Okay.
And we'll save you all. See. at the table. Take care, everyone.
Bye bye.